So we flew to Seattle to Patty's sister Meg, and we rented a car and drove home for 10 days. And it was a nice trip. So the first stop was Mount Rainier, Paradise Lodge. And the road up, there's this very cool sculpture ranch. You can't miss it. And highly recommend you do it. So then we stayed at the Paradise Lodge, and this was our hike the second day, the Paradise Loop. The first day there was a power outage that lasted for 2 days, which they said is very common. And, we had grilled salmon because they couldn't cook anything. And we played dominoes and sat around the fire. But it was fine, and the hike was great. There was, marmots everywhere. So then we crossed the bridge in the Reese Witherspoon movie, and we drove along the Columbia River Gorge, so beautiful, and we went to Multnomah Falls, but we went to Horsetail Falls, which is my favorite spot there. Patty had spatial issues before Alzheimer's, and she was terrified of this. She would not go in there. But we did have a very nice little waterfall picnic along the gorge, which was very nice. I'm not going to answer that. And so then we stayed in Portland. This is in Northeast Portland. This was our VRBO. Very cottagey and adorable. I loved it. I think Patty thought it was a little low rent, but she kept her mouth shut. So then we did the usual ridiculous buggy ride on the Willamette, all the stuff that you do. The Portland Art Museum. I think that's a really neat museum. Went to the Rose Garden. The weather was perfect. So then we headed out to the coast. Everybody knows how beautiful the Oregon coast is. I forget which lighthouse this is. So this here is a little bridge along, as you're heading south. It reminded me a little bit of the Bixby Bridge. The water was roaring. Very cute. And the Oregon sand dunes. I climbed up this dune. Patty just was furious with me. She wouldn't climb up. It was another spatial thing. She didn't understand what it was, I think. But, So this is Cape Perpetua, 1,800 feet, highest point. People probably know what it is. You can drive up there. Highly recommend. Just fantastic views. So then we stayed kind of behind the dunes in a town that was completely off the radar. I mean, there's practically no one in the town. Very private. Here's Patty having her afternoon blueberries, as usual. She loved this place. Deer in the backyard. They looked as surprised, to see us as we were to see them. It's very nice. So then we drove across Oregon along the Umpqua River, and I really loved this river. It was just so, unhandled and left alone and beautiful. The forest along it, they're not redwoods, but those are some healthy. I guess those are Douglas firs, are they? Super healthy. And in Roseburg, along the way, there's a nice butterfly sanctuary. Well maintained, not big, really nice. So then we finally got to Crater Lake, and we got the full-on purple apron, which was explained to us that doesn't happen all the time. We stayed at the Crater Lake Lodge. We ate at the Crater Lake Lodge, which that I had to book that way in advance. And when you drive around the rim, which is terrifying in places, there's everybody sees this peak. If you've been to Crater Lake, you know what it is. I forget the name. I assume it's part of the volcanic legacy. I mean, how could that not be? So I hurt my shoulder, and we had to cut the trip short, but we did make it to Oregon, and I saw my dad before his stroke. We were able to say some very loving things. It was really good, and we drove home, and that was it.